Hi. So I thought I will make another short video on to discuss one of these topics, which is why can't dislocations end inside a crystal? Now, maybe for most of you or some of you, this would have been a really obvious answer, or you probably had an obvious answer for this. I remember a time when I read this in textbooks, or maybe I heard them in a classroom, and I just took this for granted and never really thought about it. However, at one point I was reading about dislocations again, and then I started to think, why can't the dislocations end inside a crystal? And this turns out to be a really obvious answer. However, picturing this was a bit difficult for me. So I made a short presentation where I show you through the schematics about why can dislocations end inside a crystal. So if we now just take a crystal, which is here shown in the form of a cube, and it's often dislocations we usually represent in terms of atomic planes. So let's imagine perfect atomic planes inside this crystal. This could be any set of planes. For now I am showing this set of planes inside this crystal. Now when we say dislocation, we'll talk about an edge dislocation, and here I represent that by an extra half plane, which is shown in green, which is basically the dislocation here. And usually you might have seen the 2D representations of this dislocation, which is the projection along this particular face of the cube, and you have your atomic planes, and this is the extra half plane, which looks like that. And I am not showing any strain on the planes, so this is a really simple representation of the dislocation here. Then from the top, if you look, since you have a full atomic plane on this side of the face, cube face, so you do not really have a dislocation there, right? And if you look from this side, I am not showing the atomic planes which are on this side. You basically see the extra half plane lying on top of this set of planes, and the dislocation line is shown here in a black thick line. And as you can see, dislocation line starts from the surface and ends on the surface. So now let's try to actually cut the dislocation so that we try to stop it inside the crystal itself. In order to do so, what I did is cut the half plane. That is, now it's not going from here to here, so I have removed the half plane. Now the consequence of this is, now because you cut this half plane, you are unintentionally creating a dislocation on this side as well. So now if you look at the top plane, a 2D representation, since now you have cut the dislocation, you will see a half plane like this, which means that you have an extra half plane from this direction, so edge dislocation here, another extra half plane here, so another edge dislocation here. The side view still remains the same, and from this side, if you look at it, since you have cut the extra half plane, now you have dislocation line from this basically going through continuously and again ending at the at the surface. So dislocation, when you tried to stop it, you had to create two other dislocations which are continuously connected, and this starts and ends at the surface. We can still do one more thing, and we can try to cut the dislocation again here. So when we do so, now we have reduced the extra half plane again, and by doing so, again you are creating more dislocations on this plane. So when you are cutting this extra half plane, you are unintentionally creating more dislocations. Now if you look at the top view, the two dislocations which you generated from the previous cuts are still there, and the other two dislocations are now introduced because you have reduced the half plane also in this direction. And from the side view, if you look at, now you have created an extra dislocation here. So dislocation is forming a loop. So a dislocation, if it wants to stay inside a crystal, it has to be a loop, it has to form a loop, or as you saw before, it can only exist or it can only end at a at a free surface. This can be a grain boundary or the surface or any other interfaces, for example. And if it has to end inside the crystal itself, it has to form a loop like this. So hopefully this is clear now, and thank you for watching.